Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a real-life treasure hunt. Not just, for gold, but for the thrill of cracking a really ingenious puzzle.
Yeah, a multi-layered one.
Exactly. We're diving into the Utah Treasure Hunt today. It's this huge annual event, thousands of people trying to figure out these complex, cryptic poems to find a hidden chest.
It's quite the phenomenon.
It really is. It's this adventure that, it weaves together history and math, pop culture.
And it literally sends people on these wild goose chases, but, in the best possible way.
Right. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how the creators build these narratives. They make sure every line could mean multiple things, and they're constantly adapting their strategy.
Well, they have to, right? Based on the community, the solvers getting smarter collectively.
That makes perfect sense, especially now with how fast info spreads online.
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we've gone straight to the source. We looked at the creators' own solve walkthroughs for 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, their explanations.
And we've got the brand new poem for 2025 that just dropped.
Right.
So our mission today is really to unpack how these hunts are designed, look at the ingenious layers and the clues.
And see how the hunt itself has changed over time.
Yeah. It's kind of a shortcut, hopefully, to understanding the minds behind these puzzles. And it should definitely get you thinking about this latest poem in maybe a new way.
It really is a masterclass in, dynamic puzzle design. They're not static.
Totally. And what really elevates this hunt is seeing how they've evolved their approach.
Yeah.
Looking at those walkthroughs, one of the most interesting things was how they actually changed their formula.
As it got more popular.
Right. Before 2023, they had this standard formula. It was pretty straightforward, relatively speaking.
Yeah, the first couple of lines usually pointed you to the trailhead.
Exactly. And then the rest of the lines were just things you'd see on that trail confirming you were in the right place.
Simple enough, but then things changed.
Big time. They saw the hunt just exploding in popularity. And they joked, didn't they, about it being U.S. versus the internet?
Yeah, that was their phrase for it. They knew they had to switch things up, throw people off, keep it challenging.
So they're really innovating constantly to stay ahead of everyone online figuring things out together.
Definitely.
So for 2023, they made this huge shift. Instead of lines pointing right to the trailhead,
they started leading solvers to historical locations first.
Yeah. Places where you had to actually gather information.
So adding a whole research layer before you even thought about hiking boots.
Exactly. And that evolution kept going, maybe even more dramatically, into 2024.
Oh, absolutely. That's where they shared that key insight, remember, about their process.
You mean hiding the chest first?
Yeah. Hiding the chest first and then writing the poem backwards from that spot.
That's such a fascinating reveal, isn't it? Sort of reverse engineering the whole thing for the solver.
And they talked about scouting locations, too.
Right. The story's about trying west of Tool.
Too remote, dirt roads, gates.
Yeah. And then between Salt Lake and Tool.
Ran into private land issues there. Too complicated.
So they ended up in Utah County, the Spanish Fork area.
Right. Partly to, as they put it, show love to that area.
Which hadn't been a main focus before.
And partly because people kept asking for a Spanish poem.
Which became its own clue.
Exactly. Another big formula change for 2024. The poem being in Spanish wasn't just flavor, it was a major hint.
So the first lines didn't point to a trailhead anymore?
Nope. They pointed to the county. Utah County.
Wow, that dynamic evolution is it's really something. They're constantly challenging what people expect.
Keeping the community on their toes, for sure.
It's like this ongoing dialogue with their audience, isn't it?
Exactly. Always innovating to keep the challenge fresh year after year.
Okay, so knowing how they shift tactics, let's look at how these layers actually played out. Let's start with 2023.
Yeah, that one was a masterclass in layering clues.
Totally. The opening lines. Begin your search for time with Transcend and crack open the books, they're interdependent.
Right off the bat, that's telling you delve into Utah history.
And transcendent locations, plural. You needed info from more than one spot.
Like Ensign Peak. The line, lift up your eyes and look for the mark hike to the tree that stands without Burke.
Pretty direct pointer to Ensign Peak. And up there, you had to find that monument marker number.
Which was 43.
And don't forget the sphere on top. That was a clue too, right? Hinting at 360 degrees.
Clever.
Yeah.
A number that popped up later.
Then there was past the grain tower that looks out to the west. Not more than an hour if you'll know by its crest.
Ah, yes, the grain tower.
I bet people were frantically Googling Latin roots after that. Didn't they send out that email clue too?
The lorem ipsum one? Yeah, that was subtle.
The little nudge, like, hey, remember your Latin. because grain.
Its root means granite, so granite tower.
And hour that had 3 meanings.
Right. About an hour's hike from the car.
60 feet off the trail.
And the monument itself, this is the place, is 60 feet high.
Incredible layering just in those few words, pointing straight to the "this is the place" monument.
So once you had those two spots, Ensign Peak and this is the place, and the number.
43 and, well, the 360 hint.
Then came the mapping clue, where it's time to frown.
The frown, which is math notation for an intersection, that upside down U.
Yep. So you take the numbers 43 from Ensign Peak.
And 358, which, again, wasn't just pulled out of thin air.
Right. It came from that 360 degrees from the sphere on Ensign Peak, subtly adjusted based on how it was represented architecturally.
So they expected people to notice that detail on the monument and do a calculation.
Seems like it, or at least figure it out eventually. Those numbers, 43 and 358, became coordinates.
Plotting an intersection point on a map. Like real-world triangulation.
It really pushes critical thinking, doesn't it? Beyond just looking around.
Oh, absolutely. It shifted from just observing things to performing these like complex numerical challenges based on the environment.
Exactly. And it didn't stop there. The creators said when they plotted that intersection point on the map,
It looked like an upside-down church.
yeah, you could kind of see the steeple, the roof, the walls. That became the visual cue.
And from there, they jump into pop culture, get off the road at the airplane without wings.
Back to the Future, instantly recognizable for fans.
And the key wasn't just the DeLorean, it was the scene before it.
Old man Peabody talking about breeding pine trees.
Right. Subtly telling you a pine tree is important.
Then the next line, get off the road. Another movie reference.
Lord of the Rings this time. Hiding under the roots.
Suggesting the treasure was under the roots of that pine tree. Very clever connection.
And finally, search from the shoulder and fortune it will bring. The shoulder of that upside-down church shape on the map.
Which led you right to a specific pine tree about 60 feet off the trail.
It's just incredible how they weave it all together. History, math, movies,
Yeah.
pinpointing one spot.
That's a real aha moment when you finally connect all those threads. It really shows that interdisciplinary dependency they aim for. You have to pull from different kinds of knowledge.
Okay, so if 2023 was intricate, 2024. Wow. It took complexity maybe to another level.
Starting with the Spanish poem.
Right, which we now know was a clue itself. It opened with a quote from Cortez, didn't it?
Yeah, an epic treasure hunting quote. Then El Coro the choir.
Referring to the Dominguez and Escalante expedition.
Exactly. They were priests, sang in choirs, looking for a shortcut.
And they came down Spanish Fork Canyon. Makes sense.
Then Encuentra la Cruz, find the cross.
That points to the Escalante Cross Monument, right? Commemorating their trip.
Precisely. And the next line, da la sombra, give the shadow, that was key.
A directional clue. How did that work again?
Well, since most hunters are north of Spanish Fork, if you turn around from the cross, your shadow points northwest.
Ah, subtly guiding you towards a canyon or trailhead northwest of Spanish Fork. Clever.
Very. Then from Spanish history, a sharp turn into pop culture again.
The Goonies. If you believe Mariotti has you under observation, isn't this a bit conspicuous? It's so overt, its cover.
Super overt, almost hitting you over the head with it. For Goonies fans, that's the smell ice cream coded message scene.
Okay, so smell ice cream. How does that connect?
Where do you learn to smell ice cream? At a school.
Ah, which led to the G on the mountain near Pleasant Grove.
Right. Put there by the high school way back in 1920. Over 100 years old.
And you mentioned Utah has tons of those letters on mountains.
At least 87. So the G wasn't unique, but it narrowed it down in that area.
Giving 2 main canyon options nearby. Battle Creek or Grove Creek.
Yep, Battle Creek South, Grove Creek North. Then came the next clue to decide between them.
Comimos langostas en el pasado. We ate lobsters in the past.
Which sounds random, but connects to 1776 American independence.
Defeating the British lobsters. Okay, I see.
And that year, 1776, is also when the Dominguez and Escalante expedition happened, tying it all back together.
So how did 1776 point to Grove Creek specifically?
Because in Grove Creek Canyon, they fly this massive American flag every year. Huge, over a quarter acre, hundreds of pounds.
Wow.
Visible from the freeway, lit up at night. A huge symbol of 1776 right there. So Grove Creek Canyon was the trailhead.
Okay, trailhead identified. Then the navigation got really precise.
Extremely. Head east from the trailhead until a sharp switchback turns west.
Then follow that until it turns east again. And that specific spot was the starting point for measurement,
Exactly. Then the word cuervo.
which has that brilliant double meaning.
Right. Crow measure distance as the crow flies, a straight line.
But cuervo can also mean priest.
Which hinted at looking to numbers, specifically scripture reference.
This is where Cortez's age came in.
Yep. They verified it multiple ways, even used AI, apparently. Cortez was 34 when he landed in Mexico.
And the number 34 led to...
A specific scripture. Old Testament, Book of Numbers, chapter 34, wasn't it? No, wait, that number 34 led to Numbers chapter 35, verse 5, which mentioned 2,000 cubits.
Okay. Numbers 35.5 mentioned in 2,000 cubits. What a deep cut.
Seriously. And then you needed to know your ancient measurements.
1 cubit is 18 inches,
So 2,000 cubits is 3,000 feet.
or 914 meters.
Precisely. So measure 914 meters down Mahogany Trail from that exact starting point.
And they told people to stay up.
Yeah, stay on the high trail, don't take the lower branches. The treasure was about 30 to 50 feet off that trail at the 914 meter mark.
In a shaded spot with the best view.
And remember the extra clues in that video reel they released.
Oh, yeah, the subtle stuff. Background pictures.
Virgin Mary with Jesus, the Last Supper, reinforcing that biblical measurement connection.
It just shows their commitment to these incredibly intricate puzzles, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not just finding a spot. It's connecting history, language, pop culture, scripture, math, all to decode one specific distance.
It does make you wonder, what level of knowledge are they expecting solvers to have or be willing to research?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Or maybe the $25,000 question in this case.
Huh. Okay, so we've walked through 2 intense years. Now let's look ahead. The 2025 poem just came out.
The new challenge. Want me to read it?
Please do. Let's hear what we're working with this year.
Okay, here's the 2025 poem. Begin your search where fabled words resound, before the standing stare and kings were crowned. Trace the steps of the lion-hearted teams, only outshone by a jewel's unyielding gleam. If you get lost, just follow the arrow. As you play peekaboo with the pharaoh, store all these new memories inside the bank. But stay far from the edge when you walk the plank. Whistle with Princess Peach the simple tune. While you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, the treasure is near now. Check if you're alone. And discover the chest between 2 stones.
Okay, wow. So first impressions, what jumps out, especially thinking about the patterns we just discussed?
Well, you immediately get that historical or maybe mythological vibe again, right? Fabled words, kings were crowned, lion-hearted teams.
Yeah, definitely feels like history or legend. And then bam, pharaoh.
Right, straight into Egyptian territory, it seems.
And the pop culture hits hard and fast too. Princess Peach. You can't miss that Nintendo reference.
Mario's World. And Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Very clear signals there.
It's fascinating how quickly they drop those distinct references, isn't it?
It is, and then you look for potential physical clues. Standing stare, arrow, bank, walk the plank, 2 stones.
Walk the plank feels very piratey or nautical. Bank could be literal or metaphorical.
Exactly. And thinking about how the formulas evolved, are these first lines pointing to historical spots again? Or maybe directly to a county or trailhead like 2024?
That's the big question, isn't it? Are they sticking with the recent pattern or switching it up again? Fabled words resound could be anywhere.
They love to keep us guessing. Standing stare is intriguing too.
It really is. It's like this brand new puzzle box just landed in front of us. You just want to start prying it open.
That's the magic of it, isn't it? The anticipation, the possibilities.
So we've kind of journeyed through the ingenious design of this Utah treasure hunt. We've seen how they weave history, math, language, pop culture,
Yeah.
all into these intricate clues.
It's a real testament to their creativity and, like you said, that dynamic puzzle design.
And looking at how they think, how they structure these hunts. It gives you a real appreciation for complex problem solving, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And just the pure joy of discovery, even if you're just following along with the solve. It's a remarkable blend of smarts and fun.
So what does all this mean for you, listening right now? As you start thinking about this new 2025 poem, maybe the real treasure isn't just the chest itself. Maybe it's the journey.
Yeah.
Learning things, connecting dots, thinking critically about the world around you, just one cryptic line at a time.
That's a great way to put it.
It truly shows the power of a well-crafted mystery.
And the incredible ingenuity of everyone who tries to solve it.